stream, please drop your name and your location. Thank you for joining me today. I am Elizabeth Omoworare, to intentionally rise to the call for excruciating growth, right? We've been discussing a whole lot about productivity and peak performance. So thank you for joining me today. Let's dive straight in, right? So the attention fortress. Architect the attention fortress. Architect a distraction-defiant ecosystem for peak performance. Information filtering, energy management, and time blocking. So this class will be divided into 4 parts, right? The first part is the foundation. The second part is the walls, because we are building a focus fortress. The next part is the moat, and the fourth part is the defense system. The foundation, the walls, the moat, and the defense system. So I have a quick assignment for you here. Your first task is your focus audit. The first task is your focus audit. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how much of your day is spent reacting to others or creating for yourself? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much of your day is spent reacting to others or creating for yourself? You can drop that in the comment section on a scale of 1 to 10. So 0 is on the lower end of the scale where you're doing badly, and then 6 to 10 is the higher end of the scale where you are really in charge of your focus, right? Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how much of your day is spent reacting to others versus creating for is to help you build a brain that craves deep work. Pardon me. My goal today is to help you build a brain that craves deep work, and it doesn't happen in a day. It takes practice, it takes discipline, it takes effort. So we have 4 parts: the foundation, the walls, the moat, and the defense system. So the foundation will cover digital disciplines and information filtering, and then the fourth, which is your defense, cover implementation and maintenance. Thank you for joining me today. Like I said, and then the final part would be shutdown ritual, which you need to integrate, right? Every day you must clear your activities or projects for the day, so that it signals to your nervous system that you are done for that day, or you are closing out on the tasks that you had set out for yourself for that day. And whatever spills over, you write it down, make a note of it, and push it to the next day. So when you are settled into rest, your system isn't processing information that is left open. Your brain isn't processing those information in your mind, right? It gives you ample time to really rest and settle down. Please confirm you can hear me and you can see me when you come into the live stream. But I believe that my network is perfect today. Okay, so let's go straight in. So we're talking about the foundation, which is deep work. Yeah, so for energy management, your focus is finite. It is not a magic you safeguard it. How best can you leverage your body runs on? And it shows that everyone has a 2 to 4 window where your cortical arousal is at its peak. So a 2 to 4 hour window, and that's why they will usually say, if you've read the book by Carl Newport on deep work, he says that you lock in 4 hours a day for deep work. But it wouldn't happen automatically or magically if you have not trained yourself to engage in deep work. Okay, so it takes practice. Can you identify your peak, trough, and recovery periods? Can you identify your peak, trough, and can you identify your peak, trough, and recovery periods? Yes, so never put shallow work in your peak window. Engaging in mindless task. Never put your shallow work in your peak window. That window should be for fortress work, that is deep work, right? Your peak period should be a window where you lock in your deep work, right? So after 90 minutes, your brain hijacks your focus to force a reset. So what do? You try to integrate rest intentionally, a 10-minute walk or a recovery window where you just close and open your eyes, right, to flush out metabolic waste from your brain. So that period of rest is not the time you go scrolling on Instagram or just checking mindless emails. No, that's the time you take a bit of rest so your brain can recalibrate for the next deep work period. So I've talked about the foundation, which is the energy management, and this is your goal, to build a brain that craves deep work. Yes. So the next is the walls, your cognitive performance strategies. What are you meant to do here? You're to keep your mind from wandering outside the fortress. Remember, we are building your. Yes, there was a research done by Dr. Sophie Leroy, and revealed that when you switch between tasks, a residue of your attention stays on the previous task. When you switch between tasks rapidly, a residue of your attention stays on a previous task, even though you have switched between tasks. So what are you meant to do? Takes 20 minutes. So what are you meant to do? Before switching tasks, you're to create a context bridge. How do you create a context bridge? You write down, spend 60 seconds to write down the next step for the current task so that you can close that loop in your brain and allow for a clean break. So you're building a context bridge before you move from task one to task two. Okay? Yeah, so that done, there are two categories of focus modes that you must integrate. Is either the monastic, pardon me, or the bimodal deep work. And monastic means that you're isolating yourself totally from the crowd, right? You're isolating yourself completely from anybody that or anything that can distract you. And the bimodal is splitting your day into two loops, and that's the open and closed loops, where the open loop is when you are accessible even while you are working, right? Sometimes that is inevitable, you can't do that. And the next is the closed focus mode, where you're able to get into that flow state for deep focus. So pick any of these modes that best suits you. But remember that at every point in time, your systems can change, right? The environmental factors can change. So you have to create a bit of flexibility and get into the closed fortress loop, and when you can get into the accessible about the cognitive performance strategies. So the next is the moat. We are building digital disciplines for and information filtering. We're building digital disciplines and information filtering. So by redesigning your environment, you are choosing choice architecture. Is this for a current project? Is this from a high signal source? Is this for a current project? Is this from a high signal source? Is this scheduled time for it? You're asking a high signal source. The third, the scheduled time for it. If you can answer these three questions, you're maintaining the low information diet. And it's a 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 3. So once these questions, the response to these questions is no, then you know that you shouldn't be or taking in that information. So it stays outside the mode, right? It stays outside the mode. And then the fourth is the defense system, how to implement these strategies and maintain your focus fortress. So here you're to rebuild your fortress when it inevitably gets hijacked. If your focus fortress has been hijacked, going to you are mandated to rebuild it. Now how do you do that? Keep a distraction log. That's your strategy. So when you're working, have a notepad close to you. so that when those thoughts pop up in your head about going to the grocery store, paying for some sort of subscription, getting some milk from the store, whatever it is, whatever those thoughts are, based on the open tabs in your close to your laptop, your computer, and write it down. Write it down. Once you write it down, you've transferred it from your brain into that notepad, so it leaves your mind. You know that okay, you have closed that loop and you're able to focus on the task that you are working on, right? So that's one strategy you can integrate. Keep a notepad next to the computer. When random thoughts pop up, you write it down. There was a research done, and it's called the Zeigarnik effect. It's a psychological phenomenon that suggests that our brains are hardwired to remember interrupted or uncompleted tasks much better than tasks that we have already finished. So your brain will continuously go to those open tabs, to continuously go to those tasks in your brain, your mind, that haven't been closed. That's why it's important to integrate the shutdown ritual. I'm going to talk about that at the end. So we are trying to avoid the Zeigarnik effect here. So you get a notepad close to you and write down those thoughts as they pop up in your mind. So it leaves your brain. Okay, and you're able to focus. So I talked about four strategies, right, that you all can integrate: the foundation, which is the energy management; the walls, your cognitive performance strategies; the moat, digital disciplines and information filtering; and then the fourth, which is your defense system, implementation and maintenance. Now, if you have questions, please drop them in the comments so I can take them. You signal to your nervous system that the fortress is secure, preventing work-related anxiety from bleeding into rest time. And so there are some solutions to hit the bullseye effect here. The first is the 20-second rule. How does it work? Based on Sean Acker's research, if a list, a specific scent, maybe lemon, a specific desk lamp, so that you use this only during your fortress hours. You use this only during your fortress hours. Okay? This creates a Pavlovian trigger for focus. Creates a Pavlovian trigger for focus. This is where you handle boredom intelligently. So what happens when you're bored? The first thing shouldn't be to reach out to your phone. The first thing shouldn't be to reach out to your phone. When boredom sets in, what can you do? Instead of reaching for a phone at the first sign of boredom, stay in that discomfort for 2 minutes. Force yourself to stay in that discomfort for 2 minutes. Okay? That's where the fortress is actually built. That's where the fortress is actually built. So stay in that discomfort for 2 minutes. Right? Okay, so when you wake up in the morning, what happens in the first 60 hours, minutes of your day? When you wake up in the morning, what happens in the first 60 minutes of your day? Remember, I said at the beginning that your goal is to build a brain that craves deep work. So when you pick up your phone within the first 60 minutes or the first hour of your day, you're you're breaking that the framework of your power hour, because that's the time that you can really control the remaining hours of the 24 hours that you have. So that your phone isn't close to you and your phone isn't the first thing you pick up when you wake up in the morning. You're either journaling, you're either meditating, you're either exercising, but you're doing something else. So you are not reactive to everything that happens in the world in the first hour of your day. That's your power hour. Robin Sharma calls it your power hour, right? So you have to protect that. So you don't get into that reactive state and your phone immediately after waking up triggers a dopamine loop and it puts your brain in a reactive state. You don't want to be a victim of this. We are building your focus fortress. You are essentially letting the world's priorities hijack your cognitive private time, your cognitive power, right? So you have to win your first hour in the day. Your goal is to win the first hour in the day. Yes, so you don't really need more willpower. Literally, you don't need more willpower. You just need a head start, and that's by keeping the world outside your walls, right? For just 60 minutes. Keep the world outside your walls for just 60 minutes when you wake up, so that you are able to take control of that time. Are able to take control of that time. And can I urge you to commit to this week? Commit to this and see how it helps you stay focused for the rest of the day. Okay, so there's an activity I want us to carry out quickly before stream. After much later after this, I encourage you to do this activity as well. So there are two tasks that you're meant to do today. The first is your focus audit. The first is your focus audit. And I ask that on a scale of 1 to 10, how much of your day is spent reacting to others versus creating for yourself. And then the last activity that you are meant to do for today is to unsubscribe from emails or YouTube channels that are not serving your current goals, right? Unsubscribe from them, 5 of them. Yes, much later you can do more of that. If you have done that, type clean in the comments for me. If you have done that, type clean in the comments for me. And I don't see your scores yet on your focus audit. Okay, so what I typically do, right, and this might help someone, is to have a theme around my days of the week. So every day has its goal, and so sometimes your calendar might change based on what happens around the day. So you have to still integrate some bit of flexibility into your routines for unforeseen circumstances, things that you didn't bargain for that might come up, right? That you need to really focus on and work on. But have a theme around the days of the week so that Saturdays, this is what I'm meant to do, and then you build up gradually from there, so that over time you get used to that. Okay, over time you get used to that. It's not going to happen in a day. You have to build it. You have to build it. You have to build it gradually, and it starts through the first 60 minutes of your day. Like I said, that's your power hour. So what do you do? Okay, so if you've read the book by Carl Newport, Deep Work, if you haven't, go get a copy, right? If you haven't, go get a copy or go online and listen to it. It's a powerful book. It's a must read. Okay? It's a must read. And there he talked about the shutdown ritual. I just want to highlight that briefly. He talked about the shutdown ritual. So what do? It helps you to get things off your mind so that you can disconnect from the day and free up your mind. When you are ready to rest, your mind is resting. It's not processing those open loops in your brain, like I talked about the Zeigarnik effect. It's not processing those open or unfinished tasks in your brain. So what do you do to integrate these shutdown rituals? Write them down. Okay, so I see a comment here. Dragon Skills, thank you for joining me today. Drop a comment for me. Let me know where you're joining me from. Thank you for joining me today. Okay. Yeah, so I was talking about the shutdown ritual. Okay. So get things off your mind. So you are writing down your unfinished task and the action plan. Your unfinished tasks, you're writing them. You're listing your unfinished tasks. For example, report to finish. You're writing down the steps on how to close that. So you find the template, ask for a review to be done, you draft the report and edit your first line. Whatever it is that your finished task requires, you draft down the processes and steps that it will take for you to close that project. So you're doing this is getting things off your mind, right? Literally, so that you free up your mind and restore the ability for deep work the next day. So you say shut down complete when all of that is done. This signals to your nervous system that you have closed your task, unfinished task for that day, and your mind is able to get into your rest mode when you are ready to sleep or rest. So, like I said, your plan, your goal is to build a brain that craves deep work. I hope this has been beneficial to you. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments for me so I can take it briefly. Take that briefly. Okay, I don't see any questions. I don't see any questions. I don't see any questions. Okay. So thank you for joining me today. I hope after today you'll be able to build your focus fortress. Remember, we talked about the 4 strategies periods. Then working on your cognitive performance strategies, that's the walls, and then the moat is filtering information intelligently and building digital disciplines around your environment. And the last is your defense system, which is implementation and maintenance. So which of these are you going to integrate today? Which of these steps are you going to integrate today? Let me know. Let me know. How would you take action immediately today? Right? So a couple of, like I said, you do not need more willpower. You do not need more willpower. You just need a head start and keeping the world outside the walls of your life for just 60 minutes from when you wake up. So you can relocate your child